بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد باب الصبر قال الله سبحانه وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا وقال سبحانه وتعالى ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى إنما يوفى الصابرون أجرهم بغير حساب وقال سبحانه وتعالى ولمن صبر وغفر إن ذلك لمن عزم الأمور وقال تعالى استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة إن الله مع الصابرين وقال تعالى ولنبلونكم حتى نعلم المجاهدين منكم والصابرين صدق الله العظيم والآيات في الأمر بالصبر وبيان فضله كثيرة معروفة رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. Alhamdulillah, today we begin the third chapter, the new chapter in Riyadh al-Salihin, the chapter of Sabr, Bab al-Sabr. In the beginning, Musannif rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, has brought 6 verses and ayat of the Quran Sharif. 6 ayat of the Quran Sharif. Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi in Ihya al-Ulum has said there's around 70 plus ayat in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has discussed sabr. Sabr is, as Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi in one place says, that is 50% of a person's life. 50% of a person's life. First of all, let's understand the word sabr. Sabr, when we look at the dictionary, when we look at the literal meaning, it means to tie something, to endure, to persevere, to withstand, to anchor something, to hold on to something, to stop something. In another way, is explained in 3 different ways. As-sabru ala shay, as-sabru ani shay, and as-sabru fi shay. As-sabru ala shay, meaning to tolerate, to bear. As-sabru ani shay, it means to stop, to abstain, to withhold. And the third one, as-sabru fi shay, is to not to complain, not to harm in any condition. Now, sabr we hear and we translate it as patience. Sabr as patience. But patience is only a small part of what exactly sabr is. Sabr, it also means and it also includes forbearance. It also includes steadfastness. It also includes perseverance, restraint. And these few put together will make sabr, will bring sabr. Imam Raghib Asfahani rahmatullahi alayhi, when we look at the Shariat wise, when you look at in the aspect of our religion, he explains that sabr is habsul nafsi ala ma yaqtadhihi ash-shar'u wal-aqlu. Habsul nafs. It means to shackle your nafs, is to stop your nafs, is to hold on to your nafs, is to put a halt and stop to your nafs. Where? عَلَى مَا يَقْتَضِيهِ الشَّرْعُ وَالْأَقْلُ. Whatever the Shariat requires. The requirements of the Shariat are do something, don't do something. So, and وَالْأَقْلُ, and the sound mind. What does a sound mind say to do or not to do? So when a person in front of the Shariat, in front of a sound mind, he stops himself. His desire, his wish, his nafs says something else. But he goes against that and he puts the Shariat and his sound mind in front and he stops his nafs following that, following his own desire, following his nafs, and he does what the Shariat and what does the sound mind and say. For example, Shariat wise, praying Salah, Fajr time for example. Fajr time is such a time where a lot of the people are asleep. You are in the cold days, the water might be cold, the weather might be cold outside. The Sharia says that you need to come out of your warm beds, perform wudu. The Shariat says for the males to leave the home and make yourself way to the masjid. And the Shariat says that, pray your salah with the jama'at and return home after that, or stay in the masjid. But the Shariat says that you have to wake up at that time of the day and make yourself to the masjid. Our nafs might say, nah, can't be bothered leaving this home, it's too warm, nice and comfortable. It's cold outside, the house may be cold, the water might be cold, the weather outside is cold. I have to, perform wudu in this weather or in this water, or I might have to wrap myself up, or in the snow days I have to go outside and clean the car, or get my shoes on and make sure that I'm setting off earlier than usual, so I'm not late for salah. So the nafs says, forget it, don't go because of these reasons. But what does the person say? That he doesn't go what his nafs says. He puts a stop on it. He says, no, nafs, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what the Shariat requires for me to do now. I'm going to carry on doing that. So that's one example of the Shariat aspect. Aqal, sound mind. A person has fallen ill and he requires some medication. Now, the medication is sour. It's very tough for him to swallow, for him to take it down his throat. So the nafs says that forget it. No, don't take the medication. You don't like the taste. You don't like the taste. Why are you having this medication? Or treatment. You have to go to the operation room. You'll be treated. You'll be cut open. They'll put needles inside you. They'll put you to sleep. The nafs says that don't go through these things. The nafs doesn't want to. The nafs doesn't want that sour taste in the mouth or going down the throat. But what does a sound mind say? What does the correct mind say? No, have that sour medication now. Inshallah, through that you'll be cured and you'll be able to eat normal food again. Go through that treatment now. You'll be able to move. You'll be able to, use your hands and limbs and go back to normal again. So that's what a sound mind says. But the nafs says the opposite. So what does a person do? He doesn't follow his nafs. He doesn't follow his own desires. But he puts a sound mind in front of him and he does what the sound mind say. And he takes some medication or he goes through the trouble and he goes through the treatment. So Imam Raghib Asfahani rahmatullah alayhi is saying that whatever the requirements of the Shariat or the sound mind is, in front of that a person puts a stop to his nafs. Instead, he carries out what the Shariat says. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi is saying that we have two conditions in our life. So sabr is 50% of our life and the other 50% of our life is shukr. Showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because a person will be either happy or will be sad. The person's life will be either the way he wants it to be or is against what he wants it to be. So there'll be two conditions in a person's life, generally. So Abdurrahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu, he says that ibtalayna bil-dharra'i fasabarna wabtalayna bis-sarra'i falam nasbir. Abdurrahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu, he says that we were tested in both ways. We were tested in both ways. We were tested in we were tested with trials and difficulties. With dharra'i, with mushkilat and with difficulties. What did we do? We did sabr. We went through times of happiness, times of sadness, times of difficulty, times of challenges. We were able to do sabr there. We were able to be patient. However, وَابْتَلَيْنَا بِالسَّرَّاءِ, we were tested with good times, with happiness. Everything that we wanted, it was there. Exactly the way we wanted our life to be, it was exactly like that. But what happened? فَلَمْ نَصْبِرْ, we found sabr to be a challenge. It was very difficult for us to do sabr. We will explain that inshallah a bit more further what that means. So here, Imam Abdurrahman bin Auf radiyallahu anhu is saying this. Now, one of the ayat of the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He explains about the times of happiness, times of difficulty, times of happiness and good. Now, what is the times of happiness? What are the conditions where a person, the life is according to his wish? That is when a person has good wealth, a person has good health, a person has a good income, a person has a good house, a good means of transport, a good family, a good partner, good children, and everything is jolly and happy, everything is like that. But however, the Quran, what does the Quran say? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum fahdharuhum. That your partners that you have, the children that you have, in this part of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they are your enemies. Now what does that mean? What does an enemy want? An enemy wants for you to be in difficulty. He doesn't want happiness from you. He prevents and it becomes an obstruction. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that at times, even though you are happy with your own family members, but they could become an obstruction for you. They could become a challenge for you. They could become a trial for you. What do? You be very careful, be aware of it. Don't lose sabr in that moment. Don't lose sabr when you are in that condition. When you have a partner, when you have your family, don't lose sabr. Meaning, don't just go according to what your wish and what your desires are. Rather, stick and hold on to the Shariat. Hold on to what the Shariat says in regarding to your family, regarding to your children. Hold on to the Shariat. The family members might take or might demand something for you which is sinful. What do? You don't do that. You explain, take the correct steps, and put the Shariat in front, and do what the Shariat says. It may be difficult, but if you try that, and if you hold on to sabr, you'll be able to gain the correct understanding, and you'll also be able to guide yourself and guide them towards the correct path. This is when a person is having everything happy, everything good. Sometimes it may be, for example, wealth we mentioned, family we mentioned. We also, for example, a person has a high position in the company that he's working. He's got promotions. So that is also a time where he has to do sabr. Another way to understand this is a person has got good wealth. Now, having good wealth, you get tempted. Fly here, go there, eat this, have this, buy this, do this. Whereas a person doesn't require all of these extra. That's what the nafs is saying, that eat this extra or have this extra or go here and there. So the nafs will want that. But what does the Sharia say? Stay within your boundaries. Don't spend extra. Don't go, israf. Don't do that. Why? Because those who do that are the brothers of shaitan or the followers of shaitan. They're following the desires and do that. So do not do that. So in the time of happiness, we also have to have sabr, meaning you have to have the Shariat in front of it. Whatever the requirements of the Shariat is, we follow that. Obviously, the opposite of this is difficulties, trials, challenges, illnesses, poverty. Something has happened and a person has an accident, for example. At that time, it is easy to do sabr. It is easy to be patient. So the conclusion of today is that sabr means to halt, to stop, to withhold, to put stop to your nafs, not to follow your desires. Rather, whatever the Shariat requires, you do that. Whatever the sound mind says at that time, as long as it's not against the Shariat, then you follow that. That's what sabr means. And in the aspect of the Shariat is that the Shariat tells you to do something, your nafs will not, but then you don't do what the nafs says, but you rather do what the Shariat says. Another example of this is the opposite of this is that your nafs says that take a interest loan out, but the Shariat says no. So then here, you don't follow your nafs. You rather take what the Shariat is saying. So the guna is guna. So we need to try to keep the Shariat in front of us as much as possible and not to follow our desires. Yes, sometimes we may have to consult the ulama in regarding some matters, but we try to keep the Shariat and try to follow the Shariat completely. This is the brief of understanding of what sabr is. Inshallah, we'll explain the categories of sabr in our Shariat, in our deen, the virtues of sabr, how to bring sabr in our life, and the other hadith Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi has brought under this chapter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the quality of sabr, the quality of shukr. Inshallah, through these, a person will become jannati. A person will become jannati. There's a story, Mullah Nasruddin rahmatullahi alayhi. Mullah Nasruddin rahmatullahi alayhi, in the looks, he was very ugly. And it was his luck that he was married to the most beautiful woman at that time. So one day he was in a very happy mood, he was in a very good mood, jolly mood. He says to his wife that, you know what, both of us are jannatis. Both of us are jannatis. So the wife goes, what do you mean both of us are jannatis? How do we know? How do you know that we are both jannatis? So using the ayat of the Quran, he says that when we do sabr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised jannat. And when we do shukr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised jannat in the Quran Sharif. I'm the most ugliest, You look at me and you do sabr. You're the most prettiest. I look at you and I do shukr. I do shukr that I've got the most beautiful woman, and you doing sabr that I'm the most ugliest, but you're doing sabr on that. So through our quality of me having shukr and you having sabr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us both of us going to Jannah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to also give us the quality of sabr and shukr and accept our gathering and make it a means of goodness in the ummah. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة ما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك جزاكم